I remember memorizing a verse when I was just a kid that had some old-style language to it. It said, "Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right." And I was okay with that. That's really not that big of a deal. It's the next set of phrases that are a bit alarming, especially when you're a kid. And it said, "Honor thy father and thy mother, which is the first commandment with a promise, that it may go well with thee, and thou mayest live long on the earth." And I remember thinking, I have to obey my parents or I'll die. Well, that was all the motivation I needed. I can tell you that. That's not all there is to that verse, though. As I've aged and experienced being a father, I've come to understand that there's so much more to those words than just a scary threat. I've been thinking recently of why I want my kids to obey and respond well to authority. And the usual answers come to mind. I'll be happier. There'll be less stress on the whole family. And sometimes I wish that my kids will obey just so that we can make it through another day. Sometimes I hope they'll obey so I won't be embarrassed and people will think that I'm a decent parent. And there's other times I wish that my kids would obey so that I won't have to take the time to discipline and correct. What's crazy is that all of those things focus on me. I won't be embarrassed. I'll have less stress. I won't have to take time. It seems like sometimes we focus on outward signs that our kids are obeying. And God focuses on that too, but He's also concerned that what happens on the outside comes from a right heart on the inside. See, God wants our kids to obey. That's the outward piece. He also wants them to honor. That's the attitude piece. The inside piece. Parenting is a lot of work. I've been rethinking why I want my kids to obey. And here's my thoughts to them. I want you guys to obey because I want you to have the blessing of God on your life. I want God to be happy with you. I want God to smile at you. And this can happen when you obey. The actual blessing of God can be yours. You can be touched by God through simple obedience. I want you to obey because this is something that makes God very happy, and you want God to be happy with you. I want a lot of different things for all of you, but perhaps there's nothing really greater than God's blessing in your life. If I can look back someday and see God's hand in your life, all of the hard work and the endless repeating and the correcting and the difficult conversations will have been so worth it. I want you to obey because how you obey now will set the pattern for how you obey other authority in your life. This is a life pattern that we're trying to establish and build. By the way, you will always have authority in your life. It will always be there. Always. There will always be someone over you. And God expects you to respect the authority that He places in your life. I want you to obey because your obedience impacts others. You have the ability to influence others for good in our home and outside of our home with the simple choice to live God's way. The opposite of that is true as well. You have the ability to influence in a way that hurts others. My hope and prayer for you is that you'll influence for good. God has some expectations for you. And this is why he says, children, obey your parents because you belong to the Lord. For this is the right thing to do. Honor your father and mother. This is the first commandment with a promise. If you honor your father and mother, things will go well for you, and you will have a long life on the earth. I can't get away from the fact that God wants to extend his blessing to you. Choose God. Choose obedience.